Well, we absolutely love our new truck camper. We've been living on the road for about 4 years, traveling in that giant 46-foot toy hauler, and it's going to stay stationary here on our base camp property. And we're switching over to a truck camper and a cargo trailer, and it's going to give us a lot more mobility, smaller footprint in and out of places that we like to boondock a lot better. One of the challenges, though, is when we put the truck camper in, we lose our tailgate, and when you lose the tailgate, you lose your rear view camera. So today we're doing a mod that I am super excited about. We're installing a product called the Wolfbox G900 Pro. Sounds like something out of a James Bond movie, and it kind of works like something out of a James Bond movie. And we're going to actually replace our factory rear view mirror with the new Wolfbox giant 12-inch wide display. We're going to add wiring in that will go back to our truck camper, and it's actually going to be something that's easy to connect and disconnect, so that when the truck camper's on, we've got an extra camera back there and can see all the way down behind our cargo trailer. Pretty straightforward install. We're going to bring you along for the process. I think this is something that might work for you if you've got a similar need. All right, first step is to remove the factory rear view mirror, and that is going to be very different for every vehicle depending on your application. We have a 2020 Ram truck, 3500. It's a tradesman, so it's kind of the bare bones, simple trim model. It doesn't have all the extra bells and whistles, so the rear view mirror mount appears to be an Allen key. Yep, it went in the basket. Okay, and then that slides off. Well, that's very simple. Now, Wolfbox was kind enough to send us this to promo and test. This is the stock OEM replacement mount kit for our particular truck. So let me get my parts and pieces out here. Very simple process. It's already got the screw in it. I don't think that could get any easier. All right, that goes right in there, all the way down. And she's tight. All right, going through the instructions, it's talking about the SD card. I assumed I would have to provide one. It actually has a Wolfbox branded micro SD card in here, 128 gig card, XC rated, so should be a good card. It says that you're supposed to make sure the micro SD card is installed while the camera is powered off. And so that's in, so we know that that's been done. Now we figure out what to do for mounting it to the rear view mirror. It has these clips on it, and there's some other accessories like these straps that go around if you were going to just mount it over the top of your existing rear view mirror. So because we're doing an OEM application and not using the mounts that strap over the top of the mirror, on the back of the Wolfbox unit itself, there are these little padded tabs, little rubberized deals, and it says in the directions that you have to peel them off, and they're kind of just got a sticky tape coating on the back of them, and so you just peel those all the way off. And then behind there is some very little screws, so we're going to take those out. To get those out, you have to kind of, you could get a small screwdriver or fingernail, and you kind of have to get underneath that little tab, the plastic tab that's holding the screw, and just pop it up because it's nested in there really good. And then once that's popped up, these tabs have to slide out. All right, now that those tabs are removed, we've got the mounting screws exposed, which line up with this new bracket that we installed up here. So let's do a quick dry fit, and sure enough, that's exactly where that goes. All right, what we learned there was it would be way easier to put the mirror on the backing plate with those little tiny screws while it's down here flat, and then use the 4 larger screws to mount the whole mechanism together. So next time, All right, now we've got all kinds of cables to run. This is the extension cable to go back to the truck camper, so that gets set aside for right now. This is a cool feature we're going to try. This is a power cable that gets power off of your OBD2 sensor. And so a lot of people are familiar with the OBD scanners. And so there's an OBD port down underneath the dash, and this unit will plug into that. Now, if you have a tuner put on your truck, or you have like one of those insurance companies that says plug this into your OBD port and we'll monitor your driving so you can get a discount, this won't work because you can only have one thing plugged into the OBD port. We don't have anything plugged in on this truck, so I'm going to go ahead and try that. The benefit of this is that it provides power, constant power, so that your monitoring system and your camera will work even when the truck's parked. And so there's a feature on here where it engages park mode, and the camera forward facing, the camera rear facing would actually record things. So if somebody messes up with your, messes with your vehicle, it's recorded. And it has a battery monitor built into it. So it drops below a certain voltage, it actually turns the camera off so it doesn't keep draining your battery just in case. And so that's one of the cool features of this. One of the other cool features is this allows me to run power down through my plastic headliner here, and then down through the pillar and underneath the dash, and I don't have to get through the firewall, and I don't have to mess around with trying to put figure out which fuse in the fuse box and all that kind of stuff. So this keeps the power wire inside the cab. So there's that to run. And then additionally, we've got a GPS cable to run, and that will be self-contained up here on the dash. So somewhere it'll go up in behind here around, sit up on the dash. We've got the rear camera, which is going to go on the truck camper. So that's a separate project. And then we've got an additional power cable that came with it, which you can just power it off of a cigarette lighter. We're going to stick with the OBD charger or power option. So there we go. We've got some wires to run. All right, moving along in the process. So now I've got a number of wires that have to go up into the headliner. I'm going to bring everything on my side down the driver's side, through the driver's side A-pillar. And so the three things that I've got is the rear view camera wire. So this is not a Bluetooth camera, it is a direct hardwired camera. And so we'll show more about what that looks like on the other end over there. And then this is the GPS cable. And so that's going to come down to a GPS sensor. And that's going to end up sitting up in the front corner of the dash where it's got a clear view of the sky. And then the other one here is the power cable that goes down to the OBD port. So I've got to get all three of those fished up into the headliner, around, down, and then once I get down there, I'll work my way down beside the dash and then figure out where everything goes from there. So do you ever have one of those projects that sort of snowballs? You're going to do one thing, like something simple, install a backup camera on the back of my truck camper that will hook up to the new Wolfbox camera system that I have installed in the truck. Seems like not too big of a deal. Well, one thing turns into another, and it's not easy to get a wired backup camera up through the back of my truck camper, somehow out the back wall or through the roof without doing some major disassembly. So in my effort to try and figure out a path to route the wire that doesn't have the wire just taped to the outside of the camper like a complete redneck, I have started taking apart some of the indoor corner trim, which looked like in our 2018 Lance 1172, it looked like it would be a place where you could run like a wire chase in the corner. So in order to get that out, I had to take out a whole bunch of screws and pull it out ever so carefully, which I then determined couldn't come out without removing the actual window valance, which you couldn't take out without taking apart some of the curtain sliding stuff. And it just, you know how it goes. You've probably been there. So I've got everything taken apart. I can see a potential path forward, but down below where I want to run the wires through the floor and then out along the bottom of the camper under the side rail to get to where it's going to plug into the truck, the generator is really in my way. And I've been planning on removing the generator from our Lance camper anyways. Here in the course of the next few weeks, we're going to be doing a big 48 volt battery upgrade with inverters and solar and all the stuff, and we're not going to need the onboard generator, and I'm going to need to delete that extra weight. So it looks like today's the day. I started off trying to put in a backup camera, and it's going to end in me disassembling half the inside of my camper, removing the generator, and Lord knows what else is going to take place on this day. I can just tell this is not going to be an easy one. All right, on the saga of things to take off that lead to more things to take off, before I can even start trying to navigate taking the generator apart, the black tank storage was right in this area here with the tube that went back in, and it went in front of the generator underneath it. So in order to get to that, to the rest of the generator bolts, I had to take the black tube out, and of course it was sealed up and caulked, and that took me like 15-20 minutes just to get that thing pried loose super carefully. And of course we got this brand new wrap on the camper, and so I'm trying to be really careful, and already scratched, put a couple of real nasty scratch marks in the wrap. All right, now to lay on my back and shimmy underneath this bad boy and start figuring out how to disconnect propane and electrical before I see if I can drop a generator on my face. Sounds like a pretty good day. Something like that. Well, that was what I call a fun job. Real good time. But all things considered, doing it by myself, managed to get it out in one piece. It was a little bumpy there for a second, but all in all, it's out. And then the propane line that's coming in here, I'll have to put a cap on it temporarily. And I think what I might end up doing, since that's already plumbed into the tanks, I might end up just coming straight out the back wall and drilling a hole and putting a quick connect on the back. And then that way I could just hook up our Blackstone grill with a quick connect deal, and I wouldn't have to pull out an extra propane tank with it. That way I've got propane right at the back of the camper since it's already there. And then the positive and negative wires, I just went ahead and shrink wrapped the ends of those, doubled up just to make sure that there is nothing exposed. And then I'll figure out what I'm going to do with those and how to kind of deadhead them. And then obviously I've got the cable here, the factory wiring harness, which goes into the system so that you can remote start and remote shut off the generator. And again, all of that will get bundled up and kind of just dead-ended somewhere up in there out of the way. Well, I just unpackaged everything they sent me on the second shipment. The original shipment came with a wire that I think was really only designed to go to the back of a car. It was supposed to be for the rear camera, but it would barely even reach my tailgate on a crew cab long box truck. So I reached out to the company and they sent me a longer cable and then a couple of extra extension cables just to make sure. And thank goodness that I stopped and pulled everything out and measured everything, because the new cable that they sent me is plenty long to go from the camera down through the firewall all the way back underneath the along the frame, and then back to where my normal trailer hookup is going to go. And then with the extension cables that they sent, I can actually set it up where the wiring is going to go down underneath the cargo trailer frame and actually put the backup camera all the way on the back of the cargo trailer, which is what I would prefer, because then I can actually see what's all the way behind me when I'm pulling the trailer. And so I'm super stoked about that. And I am really stoked about not having to drill a hole in the roof of the truck camper. The truck camper roof is in pristine condition, and the idea of poking a hole through it for a backup camera was giving me a stomachache. So this is a huge win. I needed to take the generator out anyway, so it's not like I did any extra work. I did a little bit of extra work inside the truck camper, pulling that corner molding out, but it's kind of cool just to learn what's behind there and to kind of know like what sort of access is there in there as far as future stuff if I ever do need to pull a wire for some reason. Now I know, so not a big deal. Handful of screws to put that all back together. Woo-wee! All right, lots of rolling and climbing in the dirt and feeding wires and fishing stuff through, but I'm making progress. I've got all my plastic taken apart, all the wires run, the headliner, wires run through the headliner, wires run down the A-pillar, through the firewall, routed down along the frame, zip tied up, and then I've got it coming right out here at the back of my hitch, and I've got it zip tied around the hitch and being super careful that everything is zip tied where it's not against anything sharp. If it is, I put some, rubber or something around it to help protect the wire. And this particular wire right here that comes to the back of the truck, this one needs to be powered, and this is what's going to power the rear camera. And it works out perfect that I can plug my my trailer in here when we're towing, and then in here I can come to the light plug, and I just did a temporary mock-up here to make sure it'd work, but I'll get the right plug for that. And then I can plug the power cable into the flat 4 trailer tow that has the power that goes when the lights are on, since this is lights are always on this. The running lights are always on when you're started. And then that way it'll send power all the way back to the new Wolfbox backup camera. Now, let me show you what I got going on the cargo trailer. Thank goodness for the extra extensions, because I literally have just enough wire to spare. But it's taking a lot longer than I thought, but it's coming together nice and tight and clean. And let me show you where I've got this set up. So I mounted the camera up on the roof, and I was able to find a grommet to get it sealed through the roof, and then I'll just cover all that hole and everything up there with Dicor, I don't know how you say that stuff, but it's the self-leveling RV roof sealant that works awesome to make sure nothing leaks. So that'll all get cleaned up there. I'll put some silicone in the bottom corner where I went through the wood floor, and then I'm going to continue fastening this wire loom all the way across the bottom of the frame of the trailer, and then I'm going to kind of pivot it a little bit diagonal so that it goes directly towards the tongue of the trailer, because I'm super tight on wire. So from kind of the axles forward, I need to make the wire go straight towards the tongue and make sure I don't end up cutting myself short. All right, I've got everything mocked up, And I've got the truck sitting at the correct distance so that it's kind of mirrors what it's going to be, how far it's going to be from the trailer when we have our big stinger in to haul the truck camper. So I've got that set up right now. Oh, and I'm getting sandblasted. I just had a free desert facial. Now, let's see if we have rear view camera. Sweet. Man, that is awesome. I don't know how well the picture is translating because the screen is, you know, the windshield is so bright behind it, but the picture quality on that, it's really bright. I'm looking right into the sun and I can see the picture like super nice high def. Oh, and it has voice control. Take a picture. Would you look at that? So you can do a split screen. You can see Kayla walking behind the trailer back there. And so this way, the left side is the front facing dash cam. You can see the timer up there. It's always recording. You can set it to record on like a 30-second loop, a minute loop. There's different time settings. And then if you were ever in a accident or someone did something to your vehicle, you've got kind of the emergency footage there. And then on the right side is the rear facing camera. You've got a clock, date, and then over here with the GPS that is right up here, the little black square that's up on the dash. With the GPS connected, it gives you your heading, your direction, and your speed. And super cool. And there is a whole bunch more functions. I'm going to have a good time playing with this over the next couple of weeks. We will definitely give you an update on all of the cool features. You can change the volume, the click tone, recording. You can change the exposure to make it brighter. You can mirror or flip the camera depending on what you want, how you have the cameras mounted. There's parking mode, GPS display. Let's see what that is. On. Okay, so that's on. That's just the little side display that shows you. You can change your time zone. You can set your clock, the format. You can set up your SD card. And then there's an app that goes with this as well, so you can view what your cameras are seeing on the app on your phone. Let's set it to the full rear view. Rear. And then after just a second, that bottom menu disappears and you've got a nice big 12-inch wide, super high def. The rear camera is 2.5K, the front facing camera is 4K, and the resolution and display quality is outstanding. For us, having the big truck camper on and then having the cargo trailer behind us and being able to just glance up there and see super clear anything that's coming up behind us in traffic, just having an extra check before you go to change lanes, you name it, right? And then of course, backing in or, you know, getting in and out of a camping site or even in and out of a gas station when you're kind of threading the needle in certain places, having that quality view of a camera is going to be a huge bonus. I am super excited to have that with us on this next adventure that we're about to head out on. We're not too far away from hitting the road and putting some miles on this whole new setup, and having the Wolfbox dual camera setup is gonna be so sweet. So if you're looking for a dash cam or a better quality rear facing camera, Wolfbox makes this dual camera model. They also make a 3 camera model, And the cool thing about this, as you saw, is the little fittings, the connectors, you can unscrew them. And so for us pulling a trailer or a truck camper, you can wire it up so that the joint where you can unplug them and take them apart is where you plug your regular trailer wires in. And so when you're hooked up, you can plug it in, have that awesome extra camera on the cargo trailer or your camp trailer, and then unplug it when you're not doing it. And then for us, we have a factory rear camera, backup camera that's in the tailgate. So when we're not hauling the truck camper, we can put the tailgate back on, and we've got that as a factory option. Having to wire the whole thing and doing a hardwired camera is not necessarily the easiest thing, but it actually works. The quality is good. There's no lag, there's no flicker, there's no delay. We've done a lot of the Furrion cameras, the Bluetooth backup cameras on our large RV, and what happens a lot of times, especially when you have a little bit longer setup, is the rear camera, you lose it when you start going at speed. The Bluetooth doesn't transmit, and then you need to try and buy the boosters. And in my experience, none of them have worked very good. And on top of not working very well, any of them that we've had, you have these big old huge extra like TV monitors. And so you got to figure out what to do with this. And then you end up looking like one of those guys that's got, you know, like 27 things, looks like a police officer with all the stuff, you know, fire truck with everything mounted to your dash. You've got your phones up there. You've got a GPS. You've got your rear camera with antennas sticking up. And I don't like all that stuff. I already had a rear view mirror. My brain and eyes are already adjusted to that. You intuitively already just glance at a rear view mirror to see what's behind you. And so like everything about this is awesome, and just a better setup than what we've done in the past. So can't say enough about it so far. Can't wait to get down the road and see how it actually works. I think it's going to make a big difference. I think it's going to make a big difference for Kayla driving. We've been towing a 46-foot toy hauler, and she doesn't really drive when we're pulling that. She's going to start driving because we're going to have the truck camper and the cargo trailer. And so having this also is just peace of mind that she can have a little bit more comfort in knowing what's behind her. And so all in all, I'm kind of excited. It's like a new gadget, a new toy, but it's a toy that works, that's going to make our life more enjoyable. And so I'd say I'd call that a tool, not a toy, right? I don't know. All right, this is pretty sweet. I'm excited. I am pumped to get this thing on the road and get out of here and put some miles on this whole setup. We will be giving you some updates. I will definitely be dropping some YouTube shorts and some Instagram reels and just giving you some real life from the road. How does this Wolfbox unit perform? What do we love about it? And all that good stuff. So if you're looking for one of these, jump in the link in the description. There is a discount code for our viewers. You can jump in there and grab a discount. You can go direct to their website, and don't miss out on the upcoming Amazon Prime Day deals. They've got some smoking deals coming up for that as well. So thanks for watching. This has been a little more than I bargained for, but not because of Wolfbox, just because of our particular application. But I persevered, I got her done. Now it's on to the next project.